There was an old lady who swallowed a cow to catch the dog, to catch the cat, to catch the bird, to catch the spider that wriggled and wiggled and tickled inside her. She swallowed the spider to catch the fly. I don't know why she swallowed the fly. Perhaps she'll die. Children love this daft nursery rhyme. Parents quite like it too. We sing along with glee, and as we sing, no one thinks that we are being offensive to old ladies, because we know that there are no old ladies who are stupid enough to swallow these animals, right? That would be ridiculous, right? But Jesus says there are people who are as stupid as this mythical old lady. And what's even more shocking is that they are the most straight-laced, respectable people in society. They strain out a gnat, okay, they don't eat the gnat, but they swallow a camel. Such language is typical of the ridicule that Jesus dishes out in Matthew chapter 23. He paints evocative verbal pictures that linger long in the imagination. And it's fascinating that Jesus should employ these kinds of images. The mind, it is said, is less like a debating chamber and more like a portrait gallery. And Jesus proves himself a master of the striking image. Just consider how he exposes the hypocrisy of the Pharisees in this chapter. Let's read from Matthew chapter 23 and verse 13. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites, you masked actors. There's the first verbal image. You shut the kingdom of heaven in men's faces. You yourself do not enter, nor will you let those enter who are trying to. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You devour widows' houses, and for a show make lengthy prayers. Therefore you will be punished most severely. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You travel over land and sea to win a single convert, and when he becomes one, you make him twice as much a son of hell as you are. Woe to you, blind guides! You say, if anyone swears by the temple, it means nothing, but if anyone swears by the gold of the temple, he is bound by his oath. You blind fools! Which is greater, the gold or the temple that makes the gold sacred? You also say, if anyone swears by the altar, it means nothing, but if anyone swears by the gift on it, he is bound by his oath. You blind men! Which is greater, the gift or the altar that makes the gift sacred? Therefore, he who swears by the altar swears by it and by everything on it, and he who swears by the temple swears by it and by the one who dwells in it. And he who swears by heaven swears by God's throne and by the one who sits on it. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You give 1/10 of your spices, mint, dill, and cumin, but you have neglected the more important matters of the law, justice, mercy, and faithfulness. You should have practiced the latter without neglecting the former. You blind guides, you strain out a gnat, but swallow a camel. This catalogue of double standards is shocking. They preach as though they are heaven's gatekeepers. All the while, they are the ones excluded from the kingdom. They force little old ladies out of their houses and then hold elaborate prayer meetings to proclaim their piety. They debate the minutiae of temple oaths while spreading the kingdom of Satan. They take pride in tithing from the herbs in their window box, yet care nothing about the beating heart of the Lord, justice, mercy, and faithfulness. That's the evidence which stands against these Pharisees. So how will Jesus, the prosecutor, sum up? Will he accuse them of committing some logical fallacy using impressive Latin labels? Will he produce a long report with strongly worded findings? No. He makes fun of them. He makes fun of them. You blind guides, you strain out a gnat, but swallow a camel. We've already discussed the absurdity of the blind leading the blind. That was yesterday. But in the same breath, Jesus comes up with another, even more absurd mental picture. He asks us to imagine a fastidious diner fussing over the tiniest insect, all the while oblivious to the hulking great dromedary that he's gulping down. If there is a waiter joke that is as ridiculous as this one, I haven't heard it yet. Waiter, there's a fly in my soup. Oh, allow me to fish that out for you, sir. It's getting in the way of the hippo. This phrase is more than an absurd verbal picture. It's also a play on words. In Aramaic, Jesus' mother tongue, gnat is gamla and camel is gamel. The difference is just the two letters at the end swapped around. So essentially these Pharisees, they can't sort out their gamblers from their gamels, their gnats from their camels. And the results are disastrous. And here's the point. These religious leaders have an appalling lack of proportion. They are fussing over the gnats, fussing over the details, and missing the whole point. They are like emergency room doctors who refuse to treat a dying patient because of a tiny technicality. Their fastidious approach to the details blinds them to the bleeding obvious. Jesus wants us to see how ridiculous they are. They are like people fussing over the gnat in their soup, all the while swallowing down a camel. This ridiculous image is meant to show how ridiculous they are, but it's also meant to make us think. What about me? Am I like these religious devotees? Am I blinded to the important matters of life? Do I likewise lack a sense of perspective? Do I get things out of all proportion? It's worth asking ourselves that question. Tomorrow we will see how it is that the Pharisees became so ridiculous. But for today, it's worth asking ourselves, how are we similar? How am I losing perspective? What is bugging me today? What am I getting worked up about? Is it just possible that my concerns are really gnats? And how do my little concerns compare to the heartbeat of God's concern, justice, mercy, and faithfulness? Am I swallowing a camel at the moment? Am I accepting something in my life that runs totally against the way of Jesus? Am I fussing over the details and oblivious to his heart for justice, mercy, and faithfulness? Tomorrow, some solutions. Today, some self-examination. Am I straining at a gnat and swallowing a camel?